The next section we want to cover in module number 9 for the do it phase or the get the work done phase is change management. It has often been said that once you start a project, you should not allow any changes because it will have an impact on your project, time, scope, things that need to be done, and cost and quality. I'm going to show you that that's not necessarily good thinking at this particular point in time in the new way that we do projects. The discipline of project management has come to realize that when you roll out a project, people don't always know what they need to know, and sometimes they come up with some better ideas of how to make your project or the product that you're trying to produce better. So the new thinking is at least listen, but have a gatekeeper for change control. So don't just say no changes, but have a mechanism where you do change control. As you can see from this diagram here, we have a cop there that opens or closes the gate depending on what the change is, and that individual does an assessment, processes it, rejects it, or defers it. And this individual, when it comes to project management, is really the project manager. So the individual or the gatekeeper for change control is the project manager. So the question we have to ask ourselves really is to change or not to change. That really is the question. So, but we should be open to the idea of change. What we present here is a process that you need to go through, and you need to educate everybody, all your stakeholders, everybody involved in your project, of how this process actually works. We should be receptive to anyone, team members, clients, sponsors, anyone indeed, who has an idea that they believe might make the product or our project better. And then what we basically do is we get them to fill out a standard request. You can create your own request or use the templates that are provided in the course resource area. You make them fill out a request. And then from there, we do some research. Our project team then turns around, does some research. We make a decision of whether that is going to be accepted, the scope change, the thing they want changed, whether it's going to be accepted or not accepted. And we give it the sign of approval. And only when it's approved, now do we modify it, include it into our baseline, include it into our project, and it becomes part of what we need to do. Now, if it's not approved, it actually goes into not a trash can, but a recycle bin. And this is something to be cognizant of, is that if your change is not approved, if somebody makes a change, an application for a change to your project, and you don't approve it, often they'll take it back and they'll recycle it. Now, one thing to be cognizant of is, where is the time and dollars coming for you to do the assessment of that? So the way to handle that, because you haven't built it into your project, is whenever somebody makes a change request to you, is make a guess it's going to take you X number of dollars and X number of time for you to evaluate their change request and ask them for that money up front as part of the request. If they don't give you that money up front, you don't do the evaluation of the request. Now, you can also tell them that if they don't have the money, they can also go to your sponsor to see if your sponsor, he or she, will provide the funding to do the request. But don't do the evaluation without having the necessary resources in order to do the evaluation. And once you've done the evaluation, if you improve the request, make sure before you implement that request that you get the necessary resources in order to facilitate that particular change. So even though I say, and best practices say, that you should endorse or encourage changes, one should be very much aware of what happens when a change is approved. There's a whole bunch of documents that need to be modified or adjusted. The first one is the project statement. Next is project priorities, business case, stakeholder plan, product requirements, statement of work, the actual charter. The work breakdown structure may have to be redone. Estimating documents for budget and schedule. Critical path. Work allocation plan. Communication plan. Risk plan. Quality plan. Operational transitional plan. As you can see, change is not just simple. Change, in fact, in my view, is a project unto itself. So make sure you keep your little triangle in mind when you do a change, that make sure you have the necessary time and the cost and the quality and the money to facilitate making that change happen. Before you begin, make sure you get what you need to be successful.